Here's a clip from Rachel Ziegler's interview.
She's not going to be safe with a prince, and she's not going to be dreaming about true love. She's dreaming about becoming the leader she knows she can be.
And here's a tweet that came out of a debate on exotic dancers and twerking. Between the clip and the tweet, there's a common attitude which begins to paint a larger picture of my problem with feminism. They both share a sense of not needing or wanting anything to do with men, the notion of female independence. Let me clarify one thing. I don't think female independence is a bad thing at all. The attitude that I take issue with is when there's an embarrassment for needing or wanting, or even wanting to be attractive to men, because that's not an embarrassing thing at all. That in itself is a bit strange, but it's not the wider issue in my eyes, which is a hostile attitude of men and women against each other. We have men who downplay their own potential in life to appease feminism on one hand.
I'm peak athleticism.
Your peak athleticism? What's your 40-yard dash?
And then on the other side, we have men who spend unholy amounts of time making fun of women, criticizing the way they live their lives, and telling them that they will regret their life choices. In very conservative circles, there are even a surprising amount of people who blame the national economic issues on the entrance of women into the workplace and even the right of women to vote. The problem is, we are reacting with our egos. It's easier to blame everyone else for the fact that our lives aren't as dreamy as we want them to be. The more critical responses to feminism typically come from people who say they want traditional relationships, and that is definitely not a bad thing. The traditional relationship between a man and woman is a very beautiful thing, which is why it's been told of since humans first began to tell stories. But if you want that, you have to merit it. I'm not talking about making a lot of money or getting in shape, though those are not harmful endeavors. I'm talking about your own conduct. Us guys tend to think way too highly of ourselves. We think a friendly smile from a girl we're attracted to is a sign of interest. But if we're honest with ourselves, most of the time girls aren't as romantically interested in us as we think they are. And if we're truly the man worth following, we don't need to reason with the girl we like about why we're worth following. They'll decide that for themselves. If one specific girl happens to not like the way a traditional man conducts himself, don't concern yourself with it. If one girl rejects you despite you putting in a lot of effort, don't turn your entire personality on it. And obviously, saying that women shouldn't vote and should simply listen to their husbands is a terrible idea, operating under the assumption of our own greatness. Of all the possible inspirations for this, I was actually inspired to make a video on this matter when I rewatched How to Train Your Dragon 2. There's a song between Stoic and Velka, the father and mother of our main character Hiccup, called For the Dancing and the Dreaming. It's a very simple love song, where Stoic makes grand promises of what he'll bring to Velka, while in return she expresses no interest in these things, but simply wants to spend a life together with him. I wondered why this was missing so much in our world. Of course this is fictional and rather simplistic in its concept of love, but there's a lot we can learn from the simplicity that the song carries. There's nothing wrong with loving or being honest about what you want in terms of love. The world's moved on to many other lifestyles and ideas, but the constant that has been, throughout all of the history of life, is that men and women are both needed for the continued survival of our species. And really, when men and women are in harmony, that's a very pleasant thing. Blaming or criticizing women and telling them that they're going to regret their lives isn't going to help with this, and belittling men won't help with this either. There's a lot of value in tradition as well. If you want to see the better world, stay true to what you believe should be, but try to set aside your ego and see the merits in things you don't typically embrace.